Welcome back here at Denver 7. We want to help you understand what's happening in our city.
And that's why this morning we have Denver Mayor Michael Hancock joining us here in studio to talk about some of the biggest issues facing Denver today. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
Glad to be with both of you. Good morning. It's early.
It is. A little early, yes.
It's late for us, Mayor.
Yeah, I bet.
All right, we have to start with the pit bull ban. The Denver City Council repealed the ban after 30 years, and then you vetoed that.
Right.
I'm sure a lot went into this decision. It's a really controversial topic here in Denver. Talk a little bit about what went into your decision.
You bet. It was a tough decision. I read voluminous amount of data. You know, having grown up in Denver, I certainly know the history of the ordinance. I watched it as a teenager. I also watched, you know, attack after attack after attack as the media reported what was happening in Denver and how the City Council and Mayor Pena arrived at the decision it was time to ban the breed from Denver. But the data showed, you know, that people had learned a lot about this breed and about breed-specific bans. And so it made for a difficult decision. But I will tell you what made me hold on and to veto the decision. That was the statistic that, you know, when these dogs engage, when they, you know, every dog bites, has a propensity to bite. But when these dogs engage, they tend to be very, very impactful, severe injuries or death. And I just couldn't get past that number and get past the reality that, you know, it's still a dog that people have a great deal of concern about their impact when they decide to bite.
You felt the stakes were just a little too high.
A little too high, and I just kept imagining, you know, some young child or older adult, and by the way, I read over 900 emails to my office.
Wow.
Both sides of the issue, and you know, I heard from, you know, emergency room doctors or physicians, pediatricians. I heard from, you know, dog lovers like myself. I have 3 dogs. Great deal of concern, and so that was one of the reasons that you know, I said, you know, I'm not sure we're ready for this.
Yeah, you did take your time. You studied it thoroughly, and then we have to ask you about this tweet that comes out from Governor Polis.
Wow.
Right, and the wow response. Talk about that short exchange, and then I know you guys kind of wrapped it up with lunch together.
You know, it was never really any intention. The governor and I spoke a day or two after that tweet. It was just the first time I saw it, that wow was a genuine wow. I was just stunned that he had done that. And then he ultimately called me. I think at the moment, when he tried calling me, which was interesting, it was unintentional. I had left my phone at home. And so I was gone. He had called like 5 times. And so he thought he was in the doghouse. I mean, while it was difficult with that tweet, he didn't mean any harm. He really thought it was a lighthearted moment, didn't know how serious you know, people were taking the issue, and he apologized. And then we had already, the lunch was planned, you know, weeks in advance with our 2 schedules. We had it 6-7 weeks early planned that we would sit down. We do it pretty regularly.
So all is good with the governor now.
Yeah,
he is not in the doghouse.
Yeah.
All right, another big issue facing Denver is youth violence.
Yeah.
The Denver Post reports that 3 teens have already died in homicides this year. We've reported on a task force, new programs, town halls, distribution of gun locks. What do you think can really help fix this issue?
The one thing we got to always be careful in doing with this issue, and so many others that we try to deal with, is that there's not one silver idea that solves it, and we have to take a multi-pronged approach to a very multi-pronged, multi-complex issue. And so you know, giving out the free gun locks, which tells us that a lot of the guns that young people are using are stolen or taken from their parents because they're not secured. And so, you know, having people secure their guns is extremely important. And so we hand out the gun locks. And then this week or today, we're actually going to be announcing a partnership with Denver Public Schools where we both have put up $100,000 to help community-based organizations to do after-school programming, summer programming, but also to access our facilities as they can execute their programs. So what you're going to see us doing is really a multi-pronged step approach to addressing the challenges of youth violence, including mental health, which is a major issue, and social media. A lot of these beefs start with social media, or on social media. So we're going to try to figure out how we as a community begin to ignite within parents the responsibility to know what your kids are saying and doing on social media.
Absolutely.
Give them more options to kind of hone that energy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's important.
We want to talk about an interesting event that you're hosting this Saturday at the Convention Center. Such an intriguing case that this group was known as the Central Park Five, now known as the Exonerated Five.
Absolutely.
It's featured on Netflix. Talk about this event.
Phenomenal Netflix series that many of us have watched, and it's you know, a 4 or 5 part series about young men who are falsely accused, convicted, and sentenced for a horrendous rape, an attack, assault in Central Park. And unfortunately, they didn't have the resources, the means, the understanding, the money to fight back. And their families were just helpless. So these 5 young men were convicted. And they spent anywhere from 6 to 20 years in prison for this. And they've been released, of course, with all the news that came out. You know, Trump even ran front page ads convicting these young men before they were even tried. But they're coming to Denver to talk about their story on Saturday at 3 o'clock at the convention center. Already sold out. I mean, literally within a couple days it was sold out. But we got 1,500, 600 people coming, and we have a waiting list of about 400 coming to the event. And to get a chance to sit on stage with my daughter, who's a journalism major, broadcast journalism major at CSU, and we're going to moderate a discussion with these three of the 5 who are coming to Denver.
Yeah, what an experience.
Yeah.
Mayor Hancock, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to see
Looking forward to
both
this
of you.
partnership and speaking with you again soon.
We'll be back.
All right, thanks for coming in.
You bet.
Here's Lisa.
I have a question for the mayor. Are you, like most of our viewers, sick of the snow?
No, I actually love the snow.
He's with me. It's just the 2 of us. Everyone else in the studio,
on an island, okay?
they're done.